Greetings, dear friends. In this session, we will work with the cart page. On the website, it currently looks like this. Thus, it lacks style and a template, but it should look like this. So, some blocks are already implemented, for example, this call to action. Next, we have a very similar block. There is one for the header for this bottom slider. First, let's figure out in the admin panel where we can edit this page. This is a static page, and we can edit it directly in the Pages section. It was automatically created by the WooCommerce plugin. The cart page, here we can access it. At this stage, it is created with blocks. But if you are editing some old classic template, then it will be implemented with a simple cart shortcode. A simple cart shortcode will be called, but since the modern way is using a block, here we see it in the admin panel. It has two states. That is, when there are products and when there are no products, you can use these blocks. And for example, when there are no products, instead of using this block from WooCommerce, you can pull in our own block that matches the style or add some basic styles to the existing blocks, and they will work perfectly as well. But the very fact that there are two states, when there are products and when there are none, means we can insert them into these tabs according to our design. You see, this section is nothing other than this section, so we will keep it, but perhaps with the exception that we might remove something, for example, cross cells. We'll remove this one since logically we already have cross cells here and in another form, in another block that we are implementing. Well, okay, we'll get to that later, but the fact is that we will use this area as the default cart and adjust it. We'll add some styles to it and all the other blocks like header. Call to action, slider we need to add, but we won't be adding them here. We can add them here, of course, since there's a back button, but this page is also in the editors. We'll switch to edit, meaning we can edit it there as well. Moreover, we can even edit those blocks there too. Here in the editor, we have a page card, we enter it, and we see everything the same. And if here's the content of the card, here we see everything the same as on the previous page. And specifically through these, we will edit it, for example, this title header, where it is, I don't even lift it, but here it is, we don't need it, but if we want, we can safely remove it. Notes. We leave it and keep the block with the content. We'll close this. Let's take a look. First of all, we need the header. So the first block that will be there is the header. We already have such a header multiple times. It was used here, for example, and I created a duplicate for the block. But note, there is a header there, and here is a header, but with different buttons. Here is the same header, but without buttons. It is basically the same, with one exception. For such blocks, I always make one, but I create a switch in it. Therefore, in this case, I will do exactly the same. So, this is our header block. It is the one used on... Let's check exactly to make sure. By the name, it looks like it's the one. Yes, here it is, product header. This block is used on the asset. Therefore, we will edit it. And we go to edit. I need here. So let's figure out what I need. First, let's add it. This theme archive header. And pull it up. That is right after the header. It will give that card, and I saved the picture. I saved it in advance, so uploading is wonderful here. We have this header, but it loads. You see, these terms we should make a switch so that for single pages it doesn't load, meaning terms and bomb roses. When we are on active pages, it doesn't load single, so let's add a switch in edit. We will load the select control component. Further, like this, the variable description is not used That's what we did with CopyPack. We'll replace it with file type and create this variable in the block JSON. Style type. But we will have a string type. Next, let's load this select control. In this select control, there will be default fields such as label, such, so value, and there will also be an additional attribute options into which we will insert these options. And in these options, we will have a label, archive, and a value for it as well, archive. We will specify the second option will be for, the second is not archive style but archive page, and the second will be for single page. Let's take a look. Here is our select. Wonderful. Next, when we choose single page, we need to show the option to add here. We've done these kinds of buttons before. In the call to action block, we made such a repeater. Let's open it, take it. Here's this repeater. We simply add it, transfer everything else. So that it is still in the panel body, that is, we will display it in the panel body. This. And let's look at the components it loads. If we need to load something additionally, then it's a separate panel body. We call this link repeater. And it, in principle, shows select and simple, or rather input and simple. And here is the button. Yes, we don't have such a component, so we will load the button component. We will definitely create a variable in the links attributes since we don't have it. It will be for us. Type array. And by default, an empty array. Refresh the page. Here are our buttons. Wonderful. Add. Save. Refresh the page, make sure everything is saved where it should be and how it should be. So the links are saved. Here we didn't change. Let's change single page. And by the way, yes, we had an active and it is displayed. This one we will start with K, but it's illogical. That is, if I enable arcs. The fields are there. I filled them out, but they won't be displayed for me because I will have it on active. This is exactly the default. Let's add an additional check for this. Let's set it. Essentially, if I set the type to archive, then I won't show this banal bunny. If it is not equal to archive, in this step, I will very carefully and thoroughly demonstrate it to you as I promised. In parentheses, I show this body. Otherwise, if it's archive, if this value is archive, then I won't even be able to add these buttons. Moreover, on checkout, we don't have buttons at all. And on checkout, we won't add a third state. We simply won't load the buttons. That is, if the author wants to load them, they will. So we have loaded it. The single is displayed. The active is no longer displayed. Let's return the single and save it. Now we need to implement this here. Let's go to the bacon block file. And we are interested in Rada Tadov. This block is what interests us. This is the display of terms. This way, it shows us only when we are on the archive page. So let's do a check. We already have a separate field in the attributes by key, style, cool. If it is an archive, then I show these terms and their output here. From here and here, therefore, I close. Otherwise, I will show my buttons. I already store in a variable also connected in the attributes by the key links. But let's check if they are not empty, because if they are empty, like on checkout, there is no need to show anything. They're not. And if they are not empty, so here one more pipe is needed. I will start a for each loop. And display it. Well, let's display it like this. This thing, just by changing our value. This will be a card. Link, item. I am already using the key link, and this will no longer be an object, but will be an array. Let's recall which fields this repeater uses. So it uses URL and Encore, I take. Then it is city here, Encore. And as a URL link, and the getter link function is no longer needed here. So I enter the URL. And probably it would be nice to also have a container for these links. So also, and a container, card, links, and closing. So good, let's refresh Nokia and see. Here we already have our job buttons loading. Now we need to add styles for these new classes. Let's go to the styles. Game category. This is what we need. Let's add our separate block here. And for the links themselves, also styles. Let's add like this. If I assume, now we will need to override something additional. So firstly, by design, they are wide across the full width. And secondly, they are 1540, they are 1024. So we additionally, a 1540 section. Secondly, these blocks themselves should have a width of 25%. And let's set it. They go to the second line due to this property. Here I will then set flex wrap, but on the other hand, if there are more than 10, perhaps wrap is needed. But that's another question. For now, let's place them as in the layout, as in the design. And they are centered in the middle. Here they are flex. Line item center, but there's no justify. So I'll use justify content center to center them. And the second point is they are not in uppercase here. They are here. Normal. Therefore, We set text transform to normal. So, well, let's do it differently here. After all, we have different styles. I'll take it like this. I'll copy these styles. I thought the buttons were the same, but they only have the same background. Everything else, not quite. Therefore, there's no stressing here, I think. Let's reset it. That's all. Like this. Perfect. We've implemented this header. Here, there's quite a lot. We have this padding. Here, it's clearly smaller. Only 48. Why? Probably there's something extra. You see, there's some additional margin. It should be reset. All right? Here it is, the margin button. Let's remove this. Reset the margin all around like this. If on the archive it needs to be larger, we'll just increase the gap. There, good. Next, let's move to the shop and see what's there. And there, the terms stop displaying. They are not displaying because it needs to be enabled. That is, the block doesn't have this value. It needs to be recovered, or rather resaved with the value, archive. So we go to the editor, find this template, product catalog, and here is our block, yes. Well, by default it has archive set because it's the first position, but we need to select its archive and resave it. And then PHP will see this value. It will already be in the database. It loads it. All right. Let's return to the cart. This header is ready. Let's also switch to the cart page in the editor here. The next block we will add will be the call to action. Call to action. It will be after this cart page. Let's fill it with data. Images. I saved them in advance. So I'm uploading the images. And there's a button here. Next we have the word is highlighted. I don't remember if we set a style for it or not. Let's check now. So there's no reaction on span maybe. Certainly strong indeed. But I don't remember if we added for this block. Added it. A colorful header. No, it's not there. Well, it can be updated, but I won't do it. You already know how it's done. We did it in other blocks. All right, good. Basically, you see, yes, the principle of building this cart. Next, well, here, you will need to add, first of all, a style so that it doesn't drag them with Flexbox in the form in which it drags them. So we will attach to this block, or rather not to this one. To this one. And on Flex, we make it so they go from top to bottom. We will also implement this block and apply a similar approach to it as we did for the header. We will not create a duplicate, but we'll edit and make a trigger, a switch in the existing block. We will simply update the query and be able to use it on the cart page. And accordingly, we will style it, make it somewhat similar to our design of the cart block itself. This concludes the lesson. See you in the next lesson. Goodbye, everyone.